The Russians want him to dramatically back down on missile defense. The president's essentially saying, give me some space till the election. I've got a lot more flexibility after the election. What do you think he's saying? The question it raises is, how many countries, whether it's Iran or somewhere else, has he had a similar conversation with? Let me pretend I'm tough long enough to get reelected, then I'll take care of you.
I was reading an article with regard to panic on the myth of the 8-hour sleep per night. And it says, we often worry about lying awake in the middle of the night, but it could be good for you. A growing body of evidence from both science and history suggests that the 8-hour sleep may be unnatural. Oh, am I glad to hear that. Whoa, missed that bullet. I have not had an 8-hour night without waking and stirring in my entire adult life. In fact, all of the health literature that your doctor has given you on virtually everything is wrong. I discovered this in my 30s when I had insomnia. I read a self-help book in my 30s that said, hey, hold on a minute. Just because you wake up in the middle of the night doesn't mean there's something wrong. It means you're not tired. So get up and do something. And then the self-help books showed you what you could do in 2 minutes. You could write this, you could write that, you can walk around the block. Well, of course, not in San Francisco because the Occupy thugs will get you. But you could do things in the middle. You could look at the stars. You can get a telescope and learn the star formations. A lot of things you could do in the middle of the night, in other words. You might even read a book, God forbid. God forbid you might get one of those antiquated items between two covers with print in it and read one of them. But it turns out, in people who've studied sleep in the past, it's amazing. A man did research on this, and it said that humans used to sleep in two distinct chunks. Would you believe this? And they had sex at certain times, too. People often had sex. A doctor's manual from 16th century France even advised couples that the best time to conceive was not at the end of a long day's labor, but, quote, after the first sleep, when they have more enjoyment and do it better. That's in the 16th century. We don't want to mention that around Rick Santorum. He may have to burn that book. But apparently there were first and second sleeps that disappeared during the late 17th century. And first and second sleeps occurred as a sleeping pattern around the world. You know what first and second sleeps are? This is very interesting. They fall asleep for a couple hours, and then they get up, and then do certain things, hang out, talk, right? And then they go back to sleep a second time. But we have adapted to the idea that we should sleep in an 8-hour block. But I think many of us don't sleep for 8 straight hours because our natural bodily rhythm is for segmented sleep as opposed to one long sleep. It's very interesting. And speaking of a long sleep, it seems America is in a long sleep.